So why is task design so important within the collaborative teaching approach? Well, you need to understand a couple of things about task design first. Firstly, the task design should be there to make sure the learner is learning through the task rather than just somebody performing a task. Okay? So after the assessment has been done, the learner needs to be aware of two things, right? Firstly, what did I see actually happen? And then secondly, what I would like to see happen. Now, the move that you want to add into their skiing should bridge that gap between the two. So when you're designing a task, that should create the environment for that learning to take place. So research has shown that there are four main key considerations when you are designing a task. And this is to basically ensure that one, they learn a new motor skill, and two, they understand its outcome, but also its application later on, okay? They are attention, constraint, feedback, and challenge. So when you're designing the task and you're creating the environment, you need to make sure that your attention comes down to a move that I really want to either exaggerate or isolate, okay? Now, if I can get you to do that, that means that you are then reflecting upon that within your practice attempt, okay? So learning is taking place as opposed to somebody who's just doing a task and not knowing why they're doing it, okay? The second one is constraint. What constraint does that task provide in order for me to get you to either exaggerate or isolate that move? Okay, so if my assessment here for Emma was I want her to be more on the outside ski throughout the whole turn, I would constrain the task by taking away the inside ski. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then the next part is feedback. Okay, we need to assess the experience that I've placed you in. So the feedback comes to the learner through two main avenues. Firstly is what we call task intrinsic feedback. Now that is feedback designed and comes from the task itself. So for example, if I gave Emma a one ski turn and she was having trouble keeping that inside ski off of the ground at the end of the turn, that is feedback given to you by the task. Okay, so the task is telling you whether you are successful or unsuccessful on that practice attempt. The second avenue is task extrinsic feedback. Now that comes from me, the facilitator of the task, okay? And that comes at the learner via statements as to how she did on her practice attempt. So for example, Emma, I noticed that on that practice attempt, you had trouble keeping that inside ski off of the snow at the last part of the turn. So what I would like you to do is bend a little bit more here at the waist and a little bit more there at the knee, so you're more connected to the outside ski coming out of the fall line. Now with these two pieces of feedback, okay, the task then becomes observable and measurable. You can relax now, you're okay, all right? Okay, now this is guiding the learner within that practice attempt and within the experience itself. Now after that, you have challenge. The original task should provide the right amount of challenge in that practice context for learning to take place. Now, once we are happy and satisfied that Emma is acquiring the new motor skill, okay, and she's understanding the outcome and its applicability, we can change the desirable difficulty. So we can do that in two ways. We can keep the constraints of the task as they are and change the environment. So for example, making you do it faster or on a steeper pitch or in a different snow conditions, or add constraints to the task, but keep the environment either the same or easier, okay? So with that in mind, let's go now and run through a couple of task designs and let's really flesh out these concepts.